Dear, oh dear. Happy Mondays. Yeah, always seems to go wrong on a Monday, doesn't it? Good morning, everyone. How the devil are you doing? Let me get my name off the screen. I think, well, unless you know who I am by now, you probably wouldn't be watching anyway. So what's the point? Morning, all. Good morning to Dan Cullen, to Gary Muirhead, to Chris Ford, who is over on YouTube unusually, which is why his name looks a bit different. Tractor Plant Machinery. Morning, peeps. Good morning to you as well. Good morning to Alex Latham. We're very busy over on not Instagram. I mean, Instagram is busy, but YouTube very busy this morning. Good morning to each and every one of you. Who else do we have over there? Yeah, Dan Cullen is watching on YouTube as well, I think. And possibly, I'm trying to find it. I think Gary Muirhead might be there as well. Has everyone just emigrated to YouTube? What's that all about? It's better watching over there. I have to say, you can do a lot more with our live stream over on YouTube than you can anywhere else. So, good morning, everyone. I will get on with the show now. Just to overcome a bit of confusion in the ranks, I've had a couple of people asking me how the funeral went on Friday. Wasn't last Friday? It's this Friday. It's this Friday. Paul Brown's funeral is this Friday. I was actually at the Institute of Demolition Engineers AGM on Friday, mixing with the great and the good, presidents and fellows and other members as well. Yeah, good event. Very quickly, Reverend Paul Latham has joined us, and the not so Reverend Mick Norton has joined us as well. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, Institute of Demolition Engineers up in Birmingham, and as you know, I travelled up by coach, and I'll be doing it again. I make a bit of a habit of going to IDE events via coach. It's okay. I tell you what, it's okay. There you are, Gary Muirhead saying, "Welcome to the dark side" over on YouTube. Yeah, the coach. I mean, it arrived about 15 minutes earlier than expected. It was as comfortable as anything. I had downloaded a movie to watch on my way up to Birmingham. Didn't get to do that. I actually picked up the coach at Victoria, and it makes two stops. The first at Finchley Road, and then it goes on up to Birmingham. Before we got to Finchley Road, I was fast asleep, and I didn't wake up again until the coach actually arrived. I'd recommend it, and cheap as chips. I don't actually know how they do it, to be perfectly honest with you. I think I told you I could have taken the train to Birmingham, which was going to cost me about 170 quid. I could have filled up the car with diesel, although the car wasn't available to me, but I could have done that. And that would have cost me probably, I don't know, 40, 50 quid or thereabouts. I went to and from Birmingham. Return, 11.99. Yeah. And Gary says, was it Flixbus? It was. It was. They've really. I mean, I don't know quite how they do it at the cost, but I mean, I booked it online. I had the ticket on my in my wallet on my iPhone. Just turned up, waved it on board, sat back, put the seat back a little bit, dozed off. Birmingham next stop. I'd recommend it. Tractors Plant Machinery says only gripe with YouTube is the amount of characters they allow per comment. Yeah, although I mean there are limits elsewhere as well, so it's not really that big business. Now, what about Ian Kirk, training officer at the NDTG? Very odd. What's happened there? I don't know. I mean, I reported on the fact that he is no longer there, and apparently he's. For those of you who don't know, Ian Kirk for the last. I reckon the last decade. I mean, I'm only doing that from personal memory. For about the last decade, he's been the training officer at the National Demolition Training Group. And then on Friday, I was tipped the wink that he wasn't anymore. Checked his LinkedIn profile, and yes, he's left this month to become a chauffeur. Weird, right? Weird. I mean, I will tell you. I will tell you as was told to me. When you think about moves of late, CEO Howard Button ousted. His replacement, Duncan Riddell, ousted. Convention chairman Patrick Williamson, ousted. Ian Kirk. I mean, there is every possibility that he just grown tired of training people and decided he was going to go and drive a car for a living, or he followed the same path and was also ousted. Don't know what's going on there at all. Yeah, weird. Well, I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash. I don't know, but it is both odd and sudden. And I know a few people that have worked kind of alongside in parallel to Ian, and according to them, there was no warning. There was no warning. It was here today, gone tomorrow. Dan says probably got tired training clowns. Possibly. He'll be used to people talking about him in the background. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that is a thing that goes with the job when you're in the NFDC and the NDTG. Yeah. Listen, I did have a few questions. I will get on with the show in just a moment, but I know a couple of people asked. I think it was Gary asked first of all, were the NFDC out in force for the funeral? Obviously, the funeral isn't until next week. But what I did hear while I was at the Institute of Demolition Engineers was a few people making their excuses for why they can't be at the funeral next week. Can't be or weren't invited. I would question whether there was a bit of both of that about those. So yeah, listen, enough of all that. Shall we crack on? Because loads to get through. Want to talk a bit about our aging workforce at the end of the show. I also want to talk about the problems with our younger workforce at the beginning of the show. I'm gonna upset all age groups at this rate, but yeah, bear with me because I'm gonna roll the intro and get this show on the road. When I can find the intro, it looks like this. It is Monday, the 24th of November, which means in 1 month's time, it will be Christmas Eve. Yeah. You started your shopping yet? Nope, me either. Me either. We're doing a Secret Santa in the Antley family. I know who I'm supposed to be buying for. I know the kind of thing they want. Have I done anything about it? No. No, I have not. Welcome. Slightly distracted. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition, the Lord High Chancellor of live streaming. In today's show, Liebherr sets overburden records down under. K-Tec celebrates 25 years at the sharp edge of the scraper business. LiuGong is electrifying the mining truck business. And if you've got materials to move, Sennebogen can handle it. Plus, as I've already flagged up, in today's edition of Mark's Morning Monologue, construction's Cocoon. If you've seen the movie, you'll know what Cocoon is all about, how our aging workforce is propping up an entire industry. But before we get to all of that, we do have the small matter of a bit of news to bring you. So let's do that. Bear with me just a second. Dan, I did belatedly see your excuse me, I did belatedly see your WhatsApp message. I wasn't feeling great this weekend. I just knackered, to be honest. Wish Christmas would hurry up and get here so I could take a couple of days off. But yeah, I actually turned my WhatsApp notifications off, but I did see that this morning. So thank you very much indeed for that, Dan. I'm watching the post as we speak. Tractors, plant machinery, don't do any Christmas shopping. That's the Mrs. department. Who takes care of the Mrs. Christmas present then? Or does she buy her own? Or if that's the case, that's a poor show. That is well, I say it's a poor show. It's better than buying her a screwdriver or something. Let's have a look. Peter McKenna is here. Peter, how are you doing? Last I heard, and again, I was off WhatsApp, but last I heard, he was in hospital. Peter, are you on the mend? Are you still in hospital? Are you any better? Let's have a look. Gary Muirhead. Maybe we could do a Secret Santa on the show. I guess we could. Let's not do that though, because I've already got one Secret Santa gift to buy, and I don't want to buy any more. Not that I'm being stingy, I just can't be bothered. But if you guys want to do that amongst yourself, anything has to be better than old bloke getting his arse wiped. Okay. She doesn't get anything free from me. Oh, fighting talk from tractors, plant machinery. Peter McKenna says he's struggling. Peter, do me a favour, would you? Take it easy for a couple of days. Get yourself fit and well, because well, I mean, we need you around here, but far more importantly, your peeps, your folks, your people need you over in the haulage business. So get yourself well. Sooner the better. Ken Hatcher says my joints and hips sore in this damp, cold weather. I've never had that. But I came back. Now, bearing in mind, just to recap very quickly, I took the train from here. So I walked about, I don't know, 300 yards to the train station, jumped on a train into London, walked about 200 yards to the coach station, jumped on a coach, went to Birmingham. Okay, walked about a mile to the actual venue, but no big deal. I walked about about a mile back. Got home on Friday night, and my feet hurt, my ankles hurt, my knees hurt. I mean, it was cold. Maybe it was that. Maybe I got a bit of cold in the old joints. But yeah, apart from that, I've no idea why it was causing me grief, but it was. Peter McGinnis says, worst I felt in a few years. I'm sorry to hear that, Peter, but get well soon, my friend. Andrew Thornton. Andy Thornton's just arrived. Gus says, good morning, all, and get well, Peter, and Ken, get well, too old, H. Well, funnily enough, we are going to be talking about age. We are going to be talking about age at the end of the show. Dan Cullen, he's either it's too many pizzas causing you a problem, Ken, or maybe he's prescribing you pizzas. I don't know. Tractor plant machinery. I think it's a bug doing the rounds. My legs and ankles have been aching for a week or so. Okay. Do you know? Even this morning, I took my wife a cup of coffee up in bed, and I'm 60. I wouldn't say I'm particularly fit, but I actually felt my knees as I was going up the stairs this morning. That's not right, is it? Yeah, get well soon. Peter says, Gary and Chris Ford saying, welcome to being old. If it doesn't hurt, you're dead. Well, we've all got that to look forward to then. Anyway, let's take a look at a bit of news, shall we? I don't think have I done the news. I don't know if I've done the news jingle or not. I tell you what, let's not bother. Let's just go straight over to the news. Here we are. I realise this is kind of an allied industry. It's all part of construction, but it's an allied industry. But I did think this was worth sharing because of what it actually means under the wrapper. So the headline is Joinery Firm halts apprentice programme over skills reforms. And they're not throwing their teddy bear out the pram because they've got to change their ways. But let me tell you more about it. A leading joinery specialist has paused its apprenticeship program in protest against government plans to reform training which are not fit for purpose. This is a company called Stairways Midlands. They've been forced into action by controversial plans from Skills England to slash the duration of carpentry and joinery apprenticeships from the current 25 months to around 8. Stairways Midlands says the shift would create a race to the bottom in training quality. Now, as I say, we are going to be talking about age and our skill shortage and everything else at the end of the show. But that's not the answer. Skills England, government, CITB, anybody else. The answer to the skill shortage is not to make the actual training worse. That's not going to help anyone at all. We can turn around a joinery apprenticeship in a third of the time. So how good, how competent, how valuable will that apprentice be after just 8 months of training as opposed to the 25 months they've been going through recently? I mean, fair play to that company for actually standing up and being counted on this. But can you imagine if they actually started to implement that in this side of the business, in demolition, in construction, in machine operation? We require you to do an apprenticeship of a year. Knock it off in 2 months. You'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? So fair play to them for standing up and being counted on that. What do we got here? Peter McKenna says he's 53 and feels 200. Wish there was something I could do to cheer you up a bit, Peter. Really do. At 25 months, it's nowhere near long enough to cover a full joinery apprenticeship. No. I mean, my dad did that. He did a joinery apprenticeship. I'm sure now we are talking about a long, long time ago. I'm fairly sure his apprenticeship was like 3 years, not 25 months. Dan says he's 50 this year. Oh, big celebration for Dan. And that's around about Christmas time, Dan, isn't it? Your birthday's right near Christmas, if I remember rightly. Mick Norton says, Stairways Midland right in protesting against those who are keen to fast-track apprenticeships. And ultimately, what is the point of fast-tracking an apprenticeship? Let's say you can take somebody from literally wet behind the ears, completely green, spit them out after 8 months. What employer is going to want that person to work with them? How much knowledge could they have accrued in the space of 8 months? Which end of a screwdriver to hold? Probably not much beyond that. So what is the point? Well, I mean, I know exactly what the point is, but then that basically shifts the onus of training that person to the employer. We're getting an apprentice. Okay, well, apprentice, start work. What can you do? Well, I can push a broom, and I can do that with a screwdriver. Anything else? No, that's about it. So obviously, as a result, the company, the employer, is now going to have to train them far more than Skills England never managed to do. Seems like a weird idea, right? Dan Cullen confirming, yes, his birthday is between Christmas and the New Year, which means that we won't be on air to wish him a happy birthday. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I'll do that in the run up to Christmas itself. Do a birthday party for Dan Cullen a couple of weeks in advance. I haven't actually figured out our movements over Christmas. I am planning to take another couple of weeks off because, frankly, I feel like I need it this year. Yeah, I'll let you know what the dates are looking like just as soon as I've got a calendar in front of me. And I am going to be tidying up this office. I know you can't see it, but this office is an absolute pigsty at the moment because I've got a couple of things that I want to film, and I don't want to film them in this orientation. I actually want to film this way with the screens and stuff behind me. I've got a couple of bits and pieces I'm working on that requires a different look. So probably this afternoon I'm going to have to get the rubber gloves on and try and sort out this pigsty that I'm working in. Andrew Thornton said, have you changed your name? Were you not Andy Thornton? Never mind. Actually, the apprentice says anything you want, even drive that dozer until they realise they don't know as much as they thought. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's risk-free. A less than competent joinery apprentice might hurt himself, with a chisel or a screwdriver or something like that. I don't think I'd want somebody of that ilk over on our end of the business, the demolition and construction side of things. Okay, YouTube has buggered it up. Yeah, YouTube has a nasty habit of doing that. Yeah, for all of my 125,000 followers on YouTube, I'm earning squat. Thank you, YouTube. We're 20 minutes in. Let's have a bit of Caterpillar, and then we'll get on with the show. Mick Norton has just commented, and he does have his finger on this pulse, so he would know. He says the inability to solve the current skill shortage in the sector is driving government to fast-track a host of qualifications. We'll be drowning in the incompetent, as if we're not already. Yeah, we've got that to look forward to, people. Can hardly wait. So, if I were to say to you 1.75 million cubic meters of material to be moved, you'd think that's a big earth moving job. Yeah, and you'd be right. You'd be absolutely right. Some of our motorways only required that much. 1.75 million cubic meters. What if I told you that much had been moved in a month? In a month, Liebherr.
Here at Yancoal's Mount Thorley Warkworth mine, we've achieved global records for our 9800 fleet. In 2024, we achieved 15.95 million bank cubic metres of overburden movement, and in January 2025, we achieved 1.752 million bank cubic metres of overburden movement for the month. Our second machine wasn't far behind that.
To set the global record for the 9800s was an amazing achievement for our site. From our planning engineers, our dig unit operators, dispatchers, supervisors, truckies, dump dozer operators, it's a very big team effort to be able to achieve numbers like this, and something that we were very excited to celebrate with the team.
I wasn't surprised when I heard that the Yancoal 9800 had broken a global record. It's a combination of the way that Yancoal sets their machines up on site in production and how efficient our D98 product is.
We've had the opportunity to work with Liebherr over the years, and to have our two 9800s here delivering these results, it's outstanding. And what's exciting is there's more to come, there's better yet.
When you get out into a mine site like Mount Thorley Warkworth and you see that Liebherr 9800, you just want to get in there and dig some dirt. And I guess part of the product is they're a joy to operate, they're smooth, they're quiet, they're powerful, and they're big. And that's really, really cool.
Yeah, we love our 9800s here at MTW, and we call them the Rolls Royce of excavators. They form a very integral part of our Tier 1 overburden fleet.
This is certainly the elite machine. It's the 800-ton excavator, and it is world class.
It is the king. It's the biggest, it's the best. It's our prime Tier 1 earth moving machine, along with our shovel fleet. And for us, it's about maximising the value out of that asset.
Our proficiency training has really helped achieve these results. Everything from our dig unit and dozer operators through our truck operators, and the on-bench spotting practices that we use, and our dump operators as well. That's been a massive contributor to setting these machines up for success.
So the proficiency model, our people delivering benchmark performance with standardised methods. There's more to it than that. Like, we need the machine to deliver our outstanding 9800. We expect sub 30-second cycles, which it's certainly delivering, and 4-pass payload for the 320-ton class truck, which is what we are seeing.
Support from Liebherr has been excellent. Everything from our maintenance practices, component support, problem solving. For us, we've been on a large journey throughout this business around being proficient, getting the most total movement out of these machines, and Liebherr's backed us the whole way.
So we recently repowered the two 9800s here at Yancoal MTW. That consisted of removing the existing engines and replacing with the new Liebherr D9812 product.
The engines are quieter, power delivery is a lot smoother, and we've also been able to pick up a fuel economy saving as well. And the operator feedback that we've received since repowering has been nothing short of excellent.
With a good plan, a good project, the right people, and we have the right people, the right passion, you can achieve anything. And it really is justification to the time and effort that we've spent across the relationship with Liebherr to achieve optimum performance out of these machines.
Yeah, Garvin over on Mostly Diggers on Instagram just said unreal gear. He is not wrong. Dan Cullen asking the question, what tons did he say it was? Well, it was 1.75 million cubic meters that was moved, and each of those machines is 800 tons. I hope that answers your question. Liebherr 9800 achievement, even more impressive when you consider it's a bank measure. Absolutely right. Andy Thornton, do they do garden landscaping? Yes, for about 3 seconds, I would imagine. You must have some garden if you need that. And that's some gear, says Dan. Yeah, unbelievable. 9800 is a Liebherr. Astonishing machine. Going back to tractors, plant machinery, we should probably know your first name, shouldn't we? if you it feels a bit weird to call a person tractors plant machinery. It takes years to really know a trade inside out. The more years learning from old hands, the better the next generation will be. Yeah, absolutely. Although, as you will hear at the end of the show, where is that next generation? We've got lots of the old stagers. Oh, wait, hang on a minute. That's Jim Turner. Sorry, Jim. I didn't realise that was your name over on YouTube. My apologies. Thank you, Dan. Jim, good morning. Somewhat belatedly, I didn't realise that was your name over there. Right, okay, let's crack on. We're going scraping in a moment. Bit of a celebration in mind.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
As you know, the motor scraper had its moment, and then it kind of went away. And then it kind of came back again. And leading its charge when it came back was the American manufacturer K-Tec. They are now celebrating their 25th year right at the sharp edge of the scraper business. This is the story.
In 2025, K-Tec marks its 25th anniversary, celebrating a journey that began in the Red River Valley, where founder Ken Rempel saw scrapers struggle in the gumbo clay. Determined to build something better, he invested more than 900 hours into designing and manufacturing the first K-Tec scraper. Reinventing the scraper industry, K-Tec began to set a new standard, building durable, lightweight machines that load faster and carry more than ever before. With every unit built, confidence in the K-Tec name grew. Dealers across North America took notice, recognizing K-Tec's performance in the field and building the foundation for a network built on trust and results. That momentum led to K-Tec's first appearance at ConExpo. In 2008, while many others shut down, K-Tec persevered, keeping its doors open, its team employed, and its focus on supporting contractors through tough times. The momentum continued with new facilities, expanded production, and even the world's largest scraper, a symbol of just how far innovation had come. K-Tec entered a new era, launching new models, expanding markets, and forging key international partnerships, bringing high-capacity scrapers to projects around the world. In 2020, the KA Group was formed, uniting K-Tec, Ashland, and later Metalcraft under one banner. Together, they created the foundation for the next generation, guided by a shared vision of shaping our world for a better tomorrow. From desert sands to frozen runways, K-Tec scrapers have conquered every continent of the globe. Now, in 2025, we celebrate 25 years of innovation, teamwork, and moving more dirt than ever before. K-Tec, an earth-moving legacy built from the ground up.
I realise by Caterpillar, Case, JCB standards, they're relatively young, but they've come a long way in 25 years, haven't they? Yeah, global player from basically an idea to a global player in 25 years. Not bad going at all. What is the chat saying? What have we got here? Wow, well done. Yeah, well done indeed. 25 years. And Tractors Plant Machinery, which is, as we know now, Jim Turner. Sure, YouTube normally puts my name up today. It's being different. Yeah, that's a very YouTube thing, being different. It really is. Drives me bloody mad, the platform. It is time for, we're going to come back in a moment with some LiuGong.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Yeah, we're talking LiuGong right now. Apparently, their global dealer meeting is taking place in China as we speak. This has got nothing to do with that, but apparently that is the case. It is LiuGong. It's electric mining trucks, and they look like this. Let me address the question from Dan first. He says, any LiuGong machines in Australian mines? Yes. I was reading the other day, Fortescue Mining, who had placed that massive order, about $2 billion worth of Liebherr hydrogen autonomous trucks, has now got an order of a similar magnitude for electric LiuGong trucks. So yes, there unquestionably there is, or there soon will be, some major investment in LiuGong trucks down under. Mick Norton, going back a film, says, I like the K-Tec innovation in the early days where you could drop off the prime mover and convert to a dump truck mode. I don't think that's an old days thing. I think that's still going on because they do have the partnership with, what are they called? What is Volvo called? SMT. That's the words. Those are the letters I was looking for. Yeah, SMT are still selling those paired with their own dump trucks. So that is still the case. And Jim says, I wonder if K-Tec bought out a better known toad scraper manufacturer. Not as far as I know. Not as far as I mean, they may have done because, obviously we're all aware of, the famous scrapers like the Caterpillars and the Bells and that kind of thing. There may have been a few American ones. Maybe they picked one up along the line. I've never heard that story, though. I thought they started literally from the ground up, as it were. Final week for our lady selling our merch. So here she is one more time.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everyone.
I don't think I'll miss her. She's quite annoying after a while, isn't she? Very attractive, but quite annoying. Yeah, we've got one more film to bring you, and it is the fine folks at Sennebogen. And it looks like this. Sorry, a little distracted. Just had a piece of news come in, not of interest. So I was just making sure it was of no interest, and it really isn't. Sennebogen. Yeah, just to go back to Dan saying, oh no, really? Damn that. Yeah, listen, there's been a big shake-up in the AI world over the past week. Both Google with its Gemini 3 product and also X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, with their Grok system. They've made making AI videos way easier. So we will be using it a whole lot more. In actual fact, I'm working on a story at the moment, and I've got some old photographs of a couple of people from the industry, and I put it into the Grok system and said, "Can you animate that? So bring it to life." It's absolutely seamless. No weird hands, no weird teeth. Absolutely seamless. So you will be seeing more of that. I do think we are overdue an update to Demolition to make a look maybe a little bit more like that. So Dan, don't despair. We will still have attractive ladies on the show. Just not sure what they're going to be doing at the moment. Maybe, as mounted toad scrapers have always been popular in America, pretty normal for farmers to have toad scrapers for altering their ground. Yeah, it is, which is, again, I think I wouldn't say it's peculiar to America. I'm sure they do the same probably in Australia and places like that. But yeah, the number of scrapers that are towed by literally agricultural tractors, you see a lot of that in the States. And for that very reason. So, yeah, well spotted, Mr. Turner. That pretty much brings us to the end of the main part of the show today. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into my morning monologue. If you can't stick around for that, please do stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I hope to see you again very soon. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll be right back after this. Friends, colleagues, industry professionals, lend me your ears, assuming they haven't been permanently damaged by 40 years of hydraulic breaker noise. We stand today surveying our magnificent workforce, an army built on false teeth, dodgy hips, dicky tickers, and a bloody-minded refusal to retire. And it's just as well they do refuse to retire, because there are far too few people to replace them, and their numbers are seemingly in terminal decline. According to the Skills to Build report from the Centre for Social Justice, the number of demolition and construction workers that fall into the 65 and over category has tripled since 2008. Today, 1 in 3 of our workers is over the age of 50. If we maintain that trajectory, the average age of a UK construction worker will creep past 46 by 2050. The bald and the balding truth is that the country is being literally kept standing up by. I'm going to do that again. The bald and the balding truth is that the country is being literally kept standing by people who should be demanding discounted afternoon tea and a free bus pass, not swinging a lump hammer. They are the last tired heroes of a volatile, precarious market that has refused to invest in its own future and is now running sites that look like an advertisement for some weird saga holiday. Contrast that grim willingness with the apparent reluctance of the young and spry. And the numbers are a damning indictment. Since 2008, we have 2/5 fewer 16 to 24-year-olds in the industry. That's a loss of over 150,000 people. And it's not because the demand isn't there. The industry leads the league tables with 45% of vacancies attributed to skill shortages. It's simply that these fresh-faced and fit young things look at demolition and construction as a career path built on uncertainty and thankless hard graft. Large part of the fault lies in our dysfunctional labour model. It's built on boom and bust volatility, which means that when the market dips, we lay off staff, driving them out permanently to possibly find stable work elsewhere. That reliance on short-term flexibility and risk mitigation has led to a chronic underinvestment in training. Why train someone when they'll only be with you until the market takes another dive or when they're likely to walk for a few extra quid down the road? This mindset is perfectly encapsulated by the fact that 80% of plasterers and 79% of bricklayers, the very trades disappearing the fastest, are self-employed. It's a classic problem. Employers avoid the cost of employment, workers chase the rate, and the pipeline of people runs dry. And if the market volatility doesn't kill their ambition, the broken education and training system certainly will. Our young people are sent through a curriculum that prioritises degrees but ignores the dignity of labour and then leaves them high and dry. Out of the 71,000 who complete a construction-related further education course, a staggering 58,900 fail to progress into construction employment quickly. And the reason is laughably simple, according to the CSJ report. There's not a single college course at level 2 or above that meets the industry's MVQ standards for skilled worker accreditation. They leave college thinking they're qualified only to discover they can't even get a blue card, locking thousands into low-skilled limbo or driving them out entirely. As one employer starkly put it, they see many who think they are bricklayers, only to discover that they can't actually get work. The resulting churn is immense. 85% of labourers, the entry point for many young people, don't renew their CSCS card when it expires. They just exit the sector entirely. The industry fails to retain them because we've built a system with no clear progression pathway from the site floor to actual skilled status. All of which would be frustrating at any time. But when it happens in the midst of a prolonged and deepening skill shortage, it is utterly preposterous. We have a desperate need for competent people, yet we have somehow made it harder and harder for those competent people to enter the industry or to stay within it. So, as our workforce ages, perhaps it's time to make some changes. Maybe we need lift systems rather than steps to help arthritic operators into their machines. Maybe we need on-site eye tests for the myopic. And if you're giving a toolbox talk anytime soon, you might want to speak up so that old Bob at the back can actually hear you. There you are. A little shorter than usual, but I think it made its point. Yeah, our failure to retain the young and apparently offset by clinging on to the old. Just makes you despair, doesn't it? Mick says, with the continual upsurge in AI technology, would it mean the eventual phasing out of influencers? Well, in actual fact, I mean, from what I've seen so far, the influencers are among the very first to have embraced AI in its truest sense. There is a system. I can't remember which of the AIs I was looking at, but I could literally give it a photograph of a young guy, a young woman, a person. Give it a photograph of a person and give it a photograph of a product, and the AI will create you a fully branded, don't forget to buy the Breakfast Show baseball cap, and you wouldn't be able to see the join. It's that easy. I watched a video Saturday afternoon, I think it was. There was a guy who had done a video talking about what the new Gemini 3 AI could do. But it wasn't him doing it. He actually introduced himself as, I am the AI avatar of me. So there's a guy who either didn't have the time or couldn't be asked to sit there and film the video. So he's created his own avatar. He wrote, or had AI write the script, put the two of them together. Bob's your uncle. And we're talking about something that lasted for about 40 minutes. There's a 40 minutes detailed description of what this new Gemini 3 thing can do, and the guy didn't even have to turn on the camera. Yeah. Great monologue. It seems the influencers are not helping either, not encouraging people. I have a feeling on that. I think when we talk about influencers, and let me be clear, I don't particularly like the idea of being called an influencer, but that's a whole other story. I think our notion of influence is all too often purely commercial. So you'll have, for example, an excavator manufacturer signing a deal with a young guy or a young girl to, do their TikTok dances and this is the greatest excavator I've ever driven. I think we can all spot the fact that that's horseshit. Truth be told, those excavator manufacturers, wheel loader manufacturers, dozer manufacturers are quite capable of selling machines with or without the help of those influencers. Where I think we're lacking is in the less tangible things like skills. I mean, I can sit here and pontificate, which I've just done, about the fact that we're not attracting and retaining enough young people. But if you are a young person, you're not going to take my word for it. I'm 60 years old. I'm an old fart. What the hell do I know? Whereas if we could, grab a few of those younger influencers, and they do exist. Lucas Haddock being one, Ollie Guns, a little bit older, but he's another. Those people. But rather than flogging products, flog careers, flog career paths, flog training courses, flog futures. Because one of the things that came out, I was up at Southern City College, as you will know, up in Birmingham on Wednesday last week. And, one of the things that really struck me was the fact that they have got a bunch of people there literally stood there waiting to propel young people into a construction career. And it's a broad construction career. They've got a plant department, so they've got excavators and mini excavators, backhoe loaders, dumpers, so they've got all that covered. But they're also doing heating and ventilating engineers, electricians, carpenters, plasterers, brickies, all of the skills that make up the modern construction world. They have the facilities, they have the funding, they have the people to do the training. What they're not getting enough of is enough people going through. And I obviously I saw that as a snapshot. I saw Southern City College as a snapshot. But for that's Birmingham. Chances are there is another. It'll be called a different name, but there'll be another college just like that in Manchester, and in Newcastle, and in Glasgow, and in Bristol, and so on down the line. We do have the capability. And one of the other things that struck me about it, and the guy that gave me the guided tour was a former bricklayer himself, who had basically handed in his hod and his trowel, and he was now training. So we talk a lot on the show about mentorship, but this was formal training, but done by somebody that's been there, done that, and got the T-shirt as well. The absolute best of the best training you could possibly hope for. He's there. He's waiting for people to come in and be trained. But as one of the other things, I'm working on the video that goes with this. One of the other things that came out very, very loud and clear was the fact that those training organisations, like Southern City College, can be very responsive. So, for example, Southern City College is on the route of HS2. So when HS2 was given the royal assent, given the thumbs up, the green light, they worked with Balfour Beatty and Vinci to establish training courses specifically geared towards the requirements of HS2. And it was ground workers, but it was also technicians and that kind of thing, the sort of people that would make HS2 a real living, breathing thing. HS2s don't come along very often. And unfortunately, a lot of the inquiries they get is, it's a local company that reaches out and says, we could do with 2 guys to do this. Well, it's quite hard to put on a training course for 2 guys. Whereas if, in the case of Southern City College, if the Birmingham-based construction companies, the Birmingham-based civil engineering companies, the Birmingham-based demolition companies were to get themselves together and say, okay, guys, never mind our usual competitiveness and stuff. What is our need? And for example, I think at the moment that need would probably be geared towards house building because, we have a big target and no way of reaching it. So, if we are going to build 1.5 million nationally, let's say Birmingham is good for 200,000 new homes over the next 5 years, for example. So what do we need? We're going to need X number of those. We need X number of brickies, X number of plasterers, X number of decorators, or so whatever. Okay, we've got a pretty good idea of what we need now. Now you go along to Southern City College and say, okay, here's our requirement over the next 5 years, 4 years, whatever. Can you create, a program, a training course to take people off the street, straight out of school, put them through this, and then spit them out at the other end as site ready? Now, I'm not saying they're going to be competent in the truest sense of the word, but site ready, so that we can actually have that gradual flow of people. And yes, okay, some of the training would still be required at site level, and we all know the challenges there. But at least you would have the flow of warm bodies. But at the moment, it's so piecemeal. And as we've seen, one of the government solutions apparently is to, rather than going out to the industry and saying, what do we need? Let's put together a national plan. What they're actually saying is, well, let's cut corners. Rather than 25 months for an apprenticeship in joinery, we'll scale that down to 8 months. So you're not at that point, you're not delivering competent people. You are definitely delivering incompetent people. 8 months is not enough to knock off the rough edges of a young person. It really isn't. Let's go over to the chat. Influencer just means advertiser, salesman to me. Yeah, I think there's a little more to it. I mean, I was telling somebody this on Friday. I don't like the term. I mean, bearing in mind what I do for a living, I'm a writer. That's my actual job title. I am a writer, be it a journalist or a book or scripts or whatever it might be, but I am a writer. So the term influencer sits very, very poorly with me. But this show and our evening shows have actually influenced people to buy items of equipment. We did one once with some demolition attachments that somebody had in the UK, they'd never come across them before. We introduced them, they made an inquiry, they sold the equipment, and I got the feedback to say, we, as a direct result of your show, we sold. The one that stands out the most for me, you might remember we did an evening show many moons ago with Mechalac, and we did it in the UK, but we did it with Mechalac out of America. And we did it one evening, and one of the people watching that was actually an Australian contractor. And the show ended, and we all went our separate ways, and are prepared to get on with our life. And I had a message from an Australian contractor to say, we've been looking at the Mechalac machine, but never really got round to going the whole hog. But as a result of watching your show, we're going to order one. So, some people just say things like that, don't they? So I dropped a line to Mechalac and said, this company over in Australia are planning to buy a Mechalac machine as a result of watching the show. So, the show has served its purpose. I reckon 48 hours later, I had a message back from America to say they were good to their word. They have actually ordered a machine. Now, I was rather hoping that message would have finished with, and there's a couple of thousand Australian dollars heading your way. There wasn't, but that is genuine influence. And I don't consider myself to be an advertising person. I'm definitely not an advertising person. I'm certainly not a salesman. I'm piss poor at both of those things. But I do think, if you can introduce people to machines and concepts and ideas, then maybe you can have some influence. And one of the things that I'm very aware of, and I say this when I talk about things like mental health, we talk about mental health once a month, maybe, half a dozen times a year or thereabouts, but it's an ongoing thing. Skills is another one. We could genuinely, we could do a daily segment on both mental health and on skills, and on the lack of women in the industry, and on the lack of racial diversity in the industry. I could pretty much do that daily. And I don't know. I'm not going to volunteer for it because I've just blurted that out, and I'm not entirely sure how I would continue to make it look different and sound different. But that's what it needs, And I think one of the other things, again, I was talking about this on Friday. One of the things that as an industry we've become far too adept at is talking to ourselves. So the Institute of Demolition Engineers host a seminar on the final Thursday, 7:00 on the final Thursday of every month, and they have done for the past year since Adrian McLean became IDE president. And some of them have been interesting, some of them a bit less so. The one on Thursday, I think it's Thursday this week, that would be the last Thursday, actually has Ryan Priestley from Priestley Demolition talking about a bridge job they did over in Canada. It'll be very, very interesting. The problem you've got is that they've chosen to broadcast that to their own members. Now, the IDE members do deserve to get access to that because, the IDE are putting it on. They want to serve their audience first. But what of the young person that might actually be inspired by that video? By keeping it under wraps, one of the key things I think that I've learned over the past 5.5 years of doing this show is that you have to go where the audience is. Back in the day when I was on a magazine, we'd create a magazine and we'd put the magazine out, and we would send it basically to their desktop. So we were going where our readers were. I think websites kind of took a different view of that. People started creating blogs and websites and just expecting people to stumble across it. In the age of social media, I don't think you can do that anymore. I think, if you're a 15, 16, 17-year-old, the chances are, you'll be on TikTok or Facebook, probably not Facebook because that's for your mum. If that's the case, if young people are hanging around on TikTok and Instagram, then the industry, be it, the training organizations, the recruitment organizations, the card providers, whoever it might be, they've got to go there, not host webinars. What 15-year-old is going to sit through a fucking webinar? They're not. But convert that webinar into, an eye-catching, intriguing, engaging 30-second video. At the end of it, they go, well, I didn't know that. I'd like to find out more about that. You've got to go and grab them where they sit. You can't, and we have as an industry, I think we've waited for far too long for people, young people to say, the job for me? Construction. I want to be laid off every time there's a recession. I definitely want to work where it's dangerous and pissing with rain and freezing cold. That's definitely the gig for me. Jim says, promoting a trade is different. Can be easily done by sending trades into schools or starting a construction skills youth organisation. Yeah, which kind of backs up what I was just saying. Jim's idea of that skills youth organisation, or going into schools even more specifically, go where the young people are. Don't create a new CITB website and then convince yourself that young people will suddenly flock to it, because they won't. Jim goes on, but it's for promotional purposes, unlike an owner that's paid full price for something that's spreading the news. They are happy with their purchase. Influencers, in many cases, are like apprentices with an audience. They're as good as their own experience, which in many cases is what they've been told by their sponsors. Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, I mean, I'm a bit cynical with all of that. Particularly, I won't name names. You're all on social media. You'll know the kind of people I'm talking about. You'll have a person. They'll come on screen. Behind me is the Umpty-Tump excavator, the best excavator I've ever driven. It's got this, it's got that. Look how comfortable it is. Look how fast it is. Look how capable it is. And you think, wow, they're very enthusiastic about that. And then a week later, the same person with a different excavator from a completely different manufacturer. Behind me, there's the greatest excavator I've ever seen. It does this, it does that. Look how capable it is. Look how roomy the cab is. And you think, what actual credibility do you now have? You can't have multiple best excavators in the world. You might have the best 20-tonner or the best 30-tonner or the best 50-tonner, but you can't tell me one week that this is the best mini excavator in the world, only to tell me 7 days later that this is the best mini excavator in the world. Because we all know the only reason you're saying any of those things is because somebody's bunged you a few quid. What does that actually do for the brand? I mean, again, bearing in mind I am a professional cynic. If a brand needs to pay somebody to say nice things about its equipment, that's telling a story all its own, isn't it? Mick says, for an 18-month plant operator apprenticeship, our training providers are encouraged with a 14 grand pot of gold for each apprentice, but we still can't make it work with dropout rates of 20% plus. Wow. Yes, there's another point. I mean, I think that is one of those things that you probably only discover when you're actually in the trenches. But yeah, you can be dropped at 5 o'clock on a Friday. I mean, I kind of stumbled into the world of employment blind to a degree. It was, well, my parents are insisting that I get a job, so I best get a job. I was probably 2 or possibly even 3 jobs in before I started to think, okay, I need career path, I need progression, I need job security, I need the ability to earn more and then earn some more on top of that, and then earn some more on top of that. And I think that's one of the issues there. I think if you look at construction or demolition from the outside, yes, you are probably very conscious of the danger and the risk and the hazards. You'd probably be aware of the fact that depending on what you're doing, you might well be working in the rain, the sun, the wind, the snow, the ice, whatever it might be. I think you're aware of that. What you don't necessarily realize is how quickly you can be picked up and put down. I mentioned the fact that you're picked up and put down, particularly if you're self-employed, with each turn. If somebody sneezes over the economy, you may not even see the week out. You'll be dropped like a hot brick. But the same thing as Dan has just said there, these employers now, I say employers, they're not actually employing people, but the people that are paying the wages can on a Friday night say, don't bother next week. So what are you supposed to do with that? If you're dropped at 5 o'clock on a Friday, what are your chances of actually finding yourself a new gig by Monday morning? If you're well connected, you might. You might land on your feet, but not necessarily. So if you can't even make phone calls and to get yourself a new saddle to sit in, make the phone call on the Monday, possibly start on the Tuesday, more likely to be the Wednesday or the Thursday, possibly not even until the following week. So because they've picked you up and put you down, more specifically they put you down, you're out of work for a week while still expected to pay the bills. Jim says, my lad is loving his apprenticeship. He's doing his telehandler right now. Good choice, I would say. Good choice. I mean, it's the machine du jour, isn't it? The telehandler. I'm still not entirely sure why. I listen, the telehandler is a very capable machine, but I maybe I'm just stuck in my old ways, but there's a bit of me that just thinks, what was wrong with the backhoe loader exactly? I didn't think there was much. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. You can do more with one machine than you can do. You can do more with a backhoe loader than you can with a mini excavator or a telehandler. So if you're going to go that route, you're going to end up needing two machines. Makes no sense to me, that. The problem is nobody wants to work hard or get dirty these days. Money for nothing, get you kicks for free. Listen, I'm sure there is some truth in that. But funnily enough, it's in the interview that I did up at Southern City College. And I was talking to the guy about, I actually said, young people today are lazy, feckless, work shy, and they all want to be TikTokers or YouTubers. And I said that to two different guys at Southern City College, and both of them went, no. There will be some lazy, work shy, feckless, but are they any worse than us? I remember my dad telling me how lazy he thought I was, around the house, work-wise, lacked motivation and so on down the line. And it's one of those occasions, fast forward 25 years, and I'm saying the same thing to my eldest son about his lack of motivation and his, I think that's a generational thing. I think we all consider that the next generation or the generation following us are lazy, work shy, and feckless. I'm not sure that's actually true. I'm really not. Again, and I can't use Southern City College as an example for everyone, but certainly what I saw while I was there, people, young people getting right involved with whatever they were doing. And the principal of the college actually said, the people that come through our doors want to work. They actually want to go to work to earn a wage to buy stuff. They want to buy the motorbike or the car or the house or the holiday or whatever it might be. They want to work. And I saw hundreds of them, literally hundreds of them. And I said this last week after I'd been there. You know, my old college was noisy and chaos most of the time. You know, people hollering and shouting, running up and down the corridors. This, every classroom we went in, and they weren't expecting us because I didn't tell them I was going to do the guided tour. You know, you go into the classroom and there were people knuckled down, getting on with their projects. Sometimes alone, sometimes together in a group. They actually want, feed me skills so that I can go and put it into practice and actually earn some money. As I say, that's not going to be universal, and I'm sure every generation throws up its lazy buggers. Mine certainly did. Jim says his son didn't pick it, but it's one on the list. He likes the 360 and the loading shovel. Fair play. It sounds like he's getting a very broad training, which is no bad thing. No bad thing at all. Anyway, people, that's an hour and 10 minutes of your life you're never going to get back. We're going to I do want to remind you very, very quickly, it's another short week again this week, I'm afraid. Friday this week is the funeral. The funeral that everybody thought I was at on Friday last week is actually this week. So I'm here today, here tomorrow, here Wednesday and Thursday. No show on Thursday. So please bear that in mind. Chris Ford says, don't get me wrong, I can be as idle as the next man, but you only normally get out what you put in unless you're very lucky. But earnings have to be related to what's coming in. Yeah. But again, the principal of Southern City College, and I must stop saying that, but one of the things that he said was, if I'm trying to remember exactly how he put it, but he basically said, you could go and study to become a doctor. And, the period of study is, 8 years or something like that to be a doctor. And yes, you might end up being a GP, at which point you're basically going to be a GP pretty much for life. So you put in all the hard work, and yes, if you're a GP, you're well rewarded, but you've put in all that hard work, and now you've kind of peaked. You might take a different view, and you might go off and become a surgeon or a consultant. But even when you become a surgeon or a consultant, you've kind of hit your ceiling. If you take a job in demolition or construction, I wouldn't say the sky's the limit, but your earnings almost are. If you go through the training to become a demolition person, and you go through and you start pushing a broom and you do a bit of traffic marshalling, maybe you drive a digger a bit, and then you think after a few years, do you know what? I'm done working for other people. I'm going to go and do this for myself. And you start your own demolition company, and you keep your nose clean, you watch your P's and Q's, you work hard, you play hard. Within the next 10 years, you could be a millionaire. And I'm not saying that as a threat. You could be a millionaire. You could be pitching up to site in your, top of the range Range Rover or your Bentley. It happens. It actually happens. So I'm not trying to discourage doctors. And I do realise that the people that are going to become doctors are probably not the people that are considering careers in demolition and construction. But you're putting all of that effort into becoming a doctor, which is a very valuable thing, and we couldn't manage without them. But you're going to hit an employment ceiling, whereas over in demolition and construction, there basically isn't a ceiling. And not only isn't there a ceiling, you could take that around the world. If you grow tired and, you've had enough of the Labour government or the Tory government or the Reform government, depending which way you come from it, and you think, you know what, I've got a few quid, I've got the skills, I've got the requisite skills, I've got the connections. The UK can manage without me. I'm going to go and set up my own demolition company in New Zealand, Australia, America, wherever. And you can do that. Chris Ford says, I still owe $1 million. I feel like that sometimes. I don't, but it does feel like that a lot of the time. Anyway, people, I've babbled on for plenty long enough. I'll be back tomorrow for yet more of the same. Until then, everybody, please, please, please look after yourselves. I'll be back tomorrow for yet more of the same. See you then.